Good morning. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. We're here on Wednesday, September 8th, as part of recognition for the month of September in Westchester County as Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month all across the county. I want to start by thanking our Department of Community Mental Health, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Westchester chapter of that, and all of our community partners who are here together and joined together in putting together this event today. Suicide is not easy to talk about, not for any of us, even those who deal with it every day. It isn't always easy to speak up if you believe that a family member or a friend may be struggling or dealing with a mental health crisis. During the month of September especially, we want to let everybody know that here in Westchester, help is available to you. We want to give you the tools that you need to start the conversation. We want everyone to know about the support and services that are available through our community mental health department and the various partners around the county. Throughout this month of September, there will be workshops, training courses, and other initiatives that you can participate in to help raise awareness about suicide and suicide prevention. A new initiative that Westchester County is taking part of for the first time this year is a pinwheel display at Glen Island Park in New Rochelle. We're doing this in partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, the acronym AFSP. The pinwheels represent the number of suicides that were completed in Westchester County in 2020. 78 pinwheels will be on our display in our beautiful county park, but these pinwheels represent more than just a number. They're not statistics. The pinwheels remain on display at Glen Island through the month of September. This Friday, September 10th, in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day and Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, the Governor Cuomo Bridge will be lit up in teal. They represent, each of these pinwheels, a human life, someone that loved and was loved, a mother, a father, a sister or a brother, a daughter or a son. In a few moments, our other speakers will share some of their personal stories. Help shed a little light on why these initiatives are so important to the county. If you find yourself at Glen Island Park, I encourage you to take a moment and pause. Think about those 78 people. Remember them. Remember the lives that they've lived and their families living still, who are still here dealing with tremendous loss. It is our hope that through these suicide prevention efforts we are partaking in this month, we'll have fewer pinwheels on display next year. Now we're going to introduce our Commissioner of Community Mental Health, Michael Orth, who will go into greater detail about the county's suicide prevention efforts this month. Commissioner Michael Orth.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we bring awareness to suicide prevention and the importance of mental health and wellness for all of our residents. I want to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to our County Executive, George Latimer. He is a true example of effective leadership. His support, consistency, courage, and compassion has led us through some challenging times, and we thank you for your support. In my role as Commissioner of Department of Community Mental Health, I have the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the Westchester County Suicide Prevention and Awareness Task Force, which was formed in 2015. I'd like to thank our co-chair, Dr. Barbara Bernstein, who wasn't able to join us today, and many of our members, including mental health providers, school representatives, faith-based leaders who I'll introduce shortly, as well as survivors and family members. I'd like to share some of the highlights of our task force. We provide ongoing training to teachers, to ministers, to all populations who impact our residents. We also do mental health first aid training, which is sort of the CPR for mental health. We also lead a college learning collaborative that Pat White from our department helps to spearhead, which includes all 13 colleges in Westchester who meet monthly to talk about mental health, emotional wellness, and suicide prevention. More recently, thanks to the leadership of Reverend Lee Trollinger, who's with us this morning from Calvary Baptist Church, we started a faith-based initiative which has over 80 faith-based leaders from all denominations coming together to talk about prevention, support for each other, and suicide prevention. We thank Pat White from the Department of Community Mental Health, Reverend Challenger, and Maria Idoni for AFSP for supporting this important venture. And finally, we're one of 3 counties in New York State who are part of a suicide fatality review team process formed in 2019. This involves the collaboration of key county stakeholders, including the Medical Examiner's Office, Department of Health, Mental Health and Social Services, that actually look at completed suicides within our county and try to get a better sense of how can we invert having more pinwheels in our county park. We thank everyone for their cooperation, and we look forward to reducing the number of completed suicides in our county. It's a challenging role, but we have the members who have committed to this process. As the county executive has mentioned, we do have several events planned for this the September Suicide Awareness Month, one being the Pinwheel, and we thank Maria Idoni, Commissioner O'Connor, Deputy Commissioner Tartaglia, and the staff of Parks and Rec for making this happen. We're very excited about having this memorial where we can all go and reflect and remember those we've lost to suicide. Thanks to Annette Peters from our Department of Community Mental Health, we also have a social media and awareness campaign where they're daily posting of events, educational information, and other important materials to help our county address suicide. On September 29th, Reverend Challenger is hosting with Pat White and other faith-based leaders a soul shop ministering to faith communities affected by suicide. This will, again, provide knowledge, information to those in the faith-based community. And one of the areas we're talking about is the intersect between spirituality and mental health and the important role that faith-based leaders play. So thank you, Reverend Challenger, for your leadership. And we also have mental health first aid training being provided to many schools and community-based organizations for the month of September. Thanks to our partners at Westchester Jewish Community Services, they're taking the lead in providing the training in partnership with the county and our suicide task force. And of course, thanks to NAMI, we have Marie Considine, Executive Director, who provides constant year-round training and education for our community. In closing, I want to remind everyone that it's okay to ask for help and support is out there. Many have endured great challenges and emotional suffering from the pandemic, more recently with Hurricane Ida, and other life circumstances and hardships. At times, we all feel overwhelmed and need support, whether it's from family, spirituality, or mental health supports and services and peers. There are many forms of support. We're fortunate in the Department of Community Mental Health, under the leadership of County Executive, to have resources, to have services. I'd like to thank our Deputy Commissioners with us today, Joe Glazer. We have a team that's ready and willing to accept your calls and provide the support. As a reminder, the Department of Community Mental Health can be reached at 995-5220. And we also have our Crisis Prevention Response Team, which is a 24-hour service at 914-925-5959. I thank everyone and look forward to participating in many events for September, but also throughout the year on the mental wellness of our community. Thank you.
That was Commissioner Michael Orth of our Community Mental Health Department. We thank him for his great leadership, recognized across the state in his area. We in Westchester County put a great priority on celebrating life, and we do so when life is lost in a number of different ways. In the next few days in Kensico Dam Plaza, we will be celebrating the lives of those that we lost on 9/11 and those that we lost from 9/11 related illnesses. At our Lenoir Preserve, we have celebrated the lives that we've lost, the lives that we've lost to COVID with our Ribbons of Remembrance program. And now at Glen Island Park, we will be remembering all those that we have lost for those who completed suicide. So Kathy O'Connor is our Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, Conservation. She manages 55 separate parks and with very many different functions, but one of them is the function to serve to remember all of those we have lost and celebrate the lives they've lived. Commissioner.
Thank you very much, County Executive Latimer. Over the last 18 months, the Parks Department has experienced a surge in attendance. We have people coming literally out of the woodwork, out of the woods, out of everywhere, walking, playing, experiencing positive things at our parks. I couldn't be more proud of my staff because it has been quite a journey for them because they deal with a lot of things on their own too. But what's been really, really important is I receive, we all get comments from constituents, but I got a number of comments over the last 18 months, unprecedented, of thank you for keeping Kensico open, thank you for keeping the golf courses open. I've had people, doctors, nurses, business people, teachers, etc., saying, I feel more normal because I just did my workout. Because, as you know, gyms and health clubs closed. So we were really the only place to come and enjoy life. And you can see people coming with their kids because school weren't happening. So I have to say, during my tenure as commissioner, these last 18 months have been very difficult, but they also are extremely rewarding because we know that we are nationally and naturally essential. And I've always known it, but I think the public now, and we have tremendous support from the administration, certainly from the county executive, George Latimer, who really, really has helped us through this very difficult time. In closing, when Glen Island Park was picked, I was also extremely happy that this was going to be where we have this new memorial. And I have to report, even with the horrible tropical storm Ida, I went down right after it, and kind of symbolic with all the flooding, all the horror that's gone on south of White Plains, the pinwheels made it, and the 78 pinwheels and all the signage are there. And we put it in a place that you see it on the way in, you can see it as you walk around the beautiful park, and you certainly see it on the way out. And we've already received a number of comments of people thanking us, people learning more, people being so surprised that this is the number of people that have taken their lives, and we're hoping that it really serves as a positive thing, and come out to the parks and enjoy yourselves and take your families. Most of them don't cost anything to just walk around, and that's what we're so proud of. So we work closely with community mental health, the administration, all the other departments. Parks is very proud to be part of that community to help the public. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from, Next, we're going to hear from Maria Idoni, from the Hudson Valley, Westchester Area Director for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Maria is with us virtually, and we want her to share her thoughts at this time.
Hi, my name is Maria Idoni. I'm the Area Director for the Hudson Valley, Westchester chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. This is a time for each of us to reach out to those around us and take steps to prevent suicide. We all have mental health, just as we all have physical health, but it's time to deepen the conversation. It's important that we know how to talk about suicide and connect ourselves and our loved ones to help if ever we need it. So the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's theme for this month is Together We Can Help, #StopSuicide. We want people to visualize how many lives are lost to suicide in Westchester County. And in 2020, unfortunately, it was 78 people who took their life by suicide. We have a pinwheel display, and each pinwheel represents one life lost to suicide. And mixed in with the display are resources. We have signs that tell people what to look out for, and we list our website, afsp.org. And you can find any of the resources that you need if you're struggling or if you have lost someone to suicide. Everyone struggles. Everyone has inner demons. We all have thoughts that we can get help with. Suicide is preventable, and that's what's most important, that people realize there are resources, there's help available to them. To end our Suicide Prevention Month, we have our Out of the Darkness community walks, and they are listed at afsp.org/HVWC. I hope to see you at a walk this fall.
Maria, thank you for your comments, and thank you for the partnership that the county has with AFSP. Next, we're going to hear from Laura DeToya, who was with NAMI Westchester, and she is also a survivor. And her personal story and what she has done as an outgrowth of that personal story is of value to all of us. Laura?
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here, to be able to share my story of hope to all of you. And It's a little sensitive. I've never done this before, so I first started getting symptoms of my mental health condition when I was a teenager. And the mental health condition that I live with is called bipolar disorder. So I also, when I was a teenager, I also drank quite a bit of alcohol. So I became, by the time I was about 19, I became an alcoholic. So that's part of, the story. And I was extremely depressed. At times I was manic. So when you're manic, you're very hyperactive. You can do things faster than other people. I used to drive very fast, and I used to get a lot of speeding tickets. I used to talk very fast, and I used to be very productive when I was in college, especially when I was writing papers. I could, write a 14-page paper in like one day, So I was very, very, everything was moving very fast. When I was 23, I went on a vacation to New Jersey, and with my friends from college. And I basically was very manic when I was on that vacation. I drank quite a bit. I drank for 3 days straight, and with very little sleep. And when you're manic, you don't really sleep very much, like maybe a couple hours here and there. So I hadn't slept in quite a bit of time. So I went to the beach one morning. It was Memorial Day, 1995. And I went to the beach, and I was thinking about suicide. And I had thought about how my life, was just not worth living anymore. I felt nobody understood me. And I was going to, I felt like I wanted to die. So miraculously, what I did was I was a person of faith, which I still am, and I prayed. I asked God, please get me out of this. I, need to get some help. And so miraculously, I left the beach. It's like somebody lifted me off the beach. I left the beach, and I went in my car, and I drove home 2 hours. And with that, when I got home, my parents knew that I was not in my right mind. I started getting other symptoms of bipolar disorder, which is like delusional thinking, paranoid thinking, and my parents took me to the hospital, where I stayed there for 2 months. So I stayed there for the whole summer. And I even, unfortunately, celebrated my 24th birthday there, which I was not happy about. And so when I was in the hospital, though, there were a lot of people that were helping me with different things. They knew that I had different problems, like mental illness, but also alcoholism. And 12-step programs would come in and try to help me get sober, really is what they wanted me to do. And I wasn't happy about that either, because I thought I was too young to stop drinking. So that happened too. But since that whole event in the hospital, which was 26 years ago, in May it was 26 years, I go to therapy. I had been going to therapy for like every week. I just went to my psychiatrist yesterday, actually. I go to the psychiatrist on a monthly basis, and I get medication. And I've been on medication since day one. And, although the medication might have changed a little bit over time, I still take medication on a daily basis. And I went to a 12-step program, and I've been sober for 26 years. I never drank again. And just to fast forward, not really fast forward, but in the hospital, my doctor told me I would never work again. He told my parents, actually, because I was so out of it, he told my parents, she will never work again, and she'll never be able to go to school, and she'll probably just have to collect Social Security for the rest of her life. So what happened to me was I got a job, I work full-time, I went and got my master's degree in education, and I have a certification I became a peer specialist, so I have a certification in that. I got several certifications with NAMI, to be a trainer and different things, but I also got a certification recently to be a Reiki practitioner, which is a hands-on healing technique. So I'm going to be doing that. And, I've been with NAMI Westchester for a little over 10 years. And in that 10 years, I was able to help a lot of people and identify with a lot of people who have, the same problems, or not problems, but issues that I have. I try not to say problem, but, who live with different disorders and live with different things. And some people have said that they have come forward to me and said that they have felt suicidal almost every day of their life, and and we talked about this. And some people are suicidal and they don't have a mental illness, like they just want to die, like all the time. And so I've talked to a lot of people about that, and I've relied on my faith to get me through in hard times. My parents have been very supportive. They have always been supportive with their love, and and they've always been there. They visited me every single day when I was in the hospital. If my mother wasn't there, my father would come, like all the time. And my parents are still very, very supportive. And I have hope for the future. I have hope that someday I'll get married, just like other people, I'm just like everybody else, that I'll someday have my own home. I've been living on my own for about 15 years in my own apartment, so I am independent. And, that's about it for me. I just, if anybody has any questions, I can answer them later. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. I know it's difficult to share in public, but we benefit from hearing your story, and we're happy that you're in a good place right now, and hopefully a better place to come. Thank you. Laura is identified as a survivor. Also, those that survive are the families that are affected by suicides. And so Ellen Hendricks, who is a member of our executive team here, is part of a family that has survived a case of suicide. And again, I know it's difficult to share your story, but we would appreciate that you share that, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Latimer. Last Wednesday was my brother Rick's birthday. He will be forever 36 years old. So many birthdays we haven't been able to celebrate together. A few short weeks from now, I will join family and friends to celebrate my young cousin who grew up in Westchester. He lost his battle with depression in the isolation of COVID. A new sad connection in mourning with my beloved cousins. The sadness and loss never go away. For however long or short their lives, these people, my beloved people, touched lives, not just mine, but many others who mourn them. Other families, other friends, we share one another's pain and sorrow, yet there is help. The caring people of AFSP helped me learn to cope when I needed it most. And they can help people who think that they can't go on too. Please reach out. They are there for you, waiting with open arms. I've been touched by how much compassion and caring Commissioner Orth and DC Glazer bring to their jobs, because to them, it's not just a job. I so appreciate all that AFSP, NAMI, and the county, my county, are doing to help others. I end here with a reference to a concept in Judaism on this, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, and it applies to every other religion, Reverend Tollinger, too. It is Tikam Olam, or for the sake of repairing the world. Thank you all for helping to repair the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen. We appreciate that personal side of it. When we close in a second, I'm going to ask Reverend Lee Trollinger, who is the pastor at Calvary Baptist Church here in White Plains, to leave us with a spiritual thought. Most of what we're here to talk about today is the secular responsibilities that we have as government and as not-for-profits to work together to find a way to provide services to people that need it, as well as honoring those that we have lost and to make sure that their memories continue to exist as it does in a family, as it does for the individual survivors. The anecdote that I'm going to share is not specifically related to the topic of suicide, but when I was a young boy, I remember doing my homework on the kitchen table in my parents' house. And as it turned out, in this particular age, I guess it was about 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, I had a weekly algebra quiz every Friday. And kids who remember what it was like when they were in school didn't like Friday tests. Friday's almost the weekend. You'd really prefer to have an easy Friday, go right into the weekend and have fun. And so I was studying on a Thursday night for this test, and I was kind of moping, as 13-year-old kids do. And my father, who was a very blunt-spoken blue-collar worker, came and he watched his 13-year-old son moping, and he said, what's bothering you? And I said, well, I have a test. I have a quiz every Friday. They test me every week. And he looked at me very sternly, pounded at the table, and he got pretty close to me, and he said, son, when you're a man, you're going to be tested every day. Study that. I'll never forget that. I could still see my father's face about 6-7 inches from mine making that point. And we are tested every day. We're tested in different ways every day. We're tested by a pandemic. We're tested by a flood. We're tested by everyday living. What we're talking about today is how we help people cope with those tests that come in life, because we all feel badly at times. We'll say things without meaning clinical depression, like, I'm depressed. Sometimes it's over relatively trivial things, but sometimes it's over the most serious things that there are. There are medical realities that go with what we're talking about. It's not just feeling blue. It's an issue that has to be dealt with. Laura's testimony, I think, speaks to that. And what this press conference is about today is that there are resources there. There are resources there in the not-for-profit world, in the medical world, in our county government. And we invite people to reach out, but we invite you to reach out on behalf of the people that you know, because it may not be possible for that person to reach out. And that is really our message today, that we remember those that we have lost to suicide, and that we try to make sure that next year there are many less pinwheels at Glen Island. So for the closing comments, again, I want to turn to my friend who is a man of God and a person that I look up to in worship tradition, Reverend Lee Trollinger, Calvary Baptist Church, to give us a closing word of comfort and warmth. Reverend Trollinger.
Thank you, County Executive. I'm honored to be here and to listen to your story, and our partnership with the county in regards to Soul Shop, and to explore the taboo conversation about suicide, especially within the Black church. We don't talk about it. Now we're talking about it, but prior to that, we wasn't talking about it. But with the help of the county and the different partners with Soul Shop, the conversation becomes easier and it becomes lighter for us to be able to share, not only with the hurt of the person that may have transitioned, but also being that support person to be with the family that yet remains, the children, the husband, the father as well. Ironically enough, my devotion this morning comes from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11, and I emphasize the latter part of it, and it says these words, "For I have plans for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, a plan to give you a hope and a future." And so when we deal with young men, young women, family members that are dealing with the stresses of life, I always remind them that God has a plan. In the midst of that plan, there's a promise. And in that promise, there's a hope. And that hope gives us a sense of future, that what we're dealing with right now is just a moment. And that moment can either become better or it can become bitter. But I choose the better because there's a hope and there's a future. So let us all continue to work collaboratively together, spiritual, clinical, county, government, because in that way we become a full force working agent that will make people's lives so much better. Thank you, County Executive.
Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. Thank you, Reverend Trollinger. Thank you, Laura and Ellen, for your personal testimony. Thank you to Maria Idoni for her comments. And of course, our commissioners who work on these projects every day. We appreciate your professionalism. Thank you for watching. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. You can reach out to us at any time at 995-2900. We have many things to be concerned about, but we face all of these things together. Have a good day.